And I think we're good. It says it's preparing, so we'll see if people can catch this little bit. So welcome everybody to our Travel Collective YouTube channel. And today we're doing the top 10 safest countries, right? That's what we're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about going solo, like Cindy likes to do often, you want to find out where some of the safest places are, maybe if it's your first time to feel more comfortable. And we always recommend it's the State Department website has, or
The
what
State
was it?
Department has some good information if you want to look, but there's a global peace index, and I can put a link in the description for this channel. That is, they do an annual thing where they list it. They check on crime and health issues and other things, and they list the safest countries in order. I think the United States this year was like 17 or 19. So I think it's an odd number and it's in the teens.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're not that far up there, but there are a number of countries. We're going to talk about the top 10 of them that are in that list, which are pretty cool to think about being the safest countries as to why to go. So let's just jump
Let's
in.
get started. Yeah, go. I think you've got number one.
Yeah, number one is Iceland, and I went to Iceland in 2018. And Iceland is a beautiful country. It has actually been on this index since 2008 as number one. So it has been the safest country for quite some time. I know when I was getting ready to go there, I was researching information. And one of the things I found interesting was that their police force does not carry a gun.
Oh, that
Which is
is
really
interesting.
weird.
Yeah, we're not used to that.
And on the other side of that, they have more guns in the country than people, because there's so much wildlife. Like it's out, there's a lot of
Oh,
out in the
yeah.
middle of nowhere, right? So when I first read that, I was like, these are like counter-district statements.
Yeah.
But it definitely tells you something about, how they operate as an organization, as a country, and being the safest country. And they have some really good services, healthcare services. We use those healthcare services on one of my trips. One of our guest had an issue and had to go to the emergency room. Fantastic. But they took wonderful care of her.
Oh,
All
good.
of the things were great. It was a wonderful services. So I can absolutely say that I know that it is one of the safest countries, and the things they're talking about are good. They're not wrong. What's number two?
Number two is Denmark. And the three things they pointed out for it being on the list is it's accessible, it's a fairly small, flat country, and the public transportation system, they say, is super convenient, easy to navigate. You can use trains and buses. And if it's flat, heck, grab a bike. And Cindy and I have talked about that recently. You don't need a car. Most Danes speak English, so you don't need to think about trying to learn the Danish language. However, we always recommend Cindy and I to learn some words. I think that's important. The only other thing they mentioned is that Danish people are a bit reserved. So again, breaking barriers, asking questions, but also realize that as a country, as a type of the individuals that live there, they just tend to be a little bit more reserved. And I think in your book club group, didn't you mention a book?
Yeah, there's The Year of Living Danishly. We read that in our book club, and it was about it being the happiest country. So on top of being safe, it's also a happy country. So, and I think we may be looking at a different list or a different order, because number two on my list is New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
We'll just keep talking until we get through 10. So
Okay. Oh, no.
so number three, we'll talk about New Zealand. And it is, the adventure capital of the world, is what they're saying, wildlife and so forth. And you can think of that, but it lists as, the second or third safest country in the world. What do you got for number four?
On my list, I don't know but on my list, I've got Norway. So I don't know if that's what's popping up on your list. They say Norway is very safe generally. I've not been to Norway yet. I've seen some amazing pictures. They get the northern lights, but they say the crime rates are low. The most common form of crime is bicycle theft, and the biggest threat lies in the nature of Norway. And I think they mean that by just like animals and, like cliffs and, just things like that, like anywhere where you're outdoors and may not be familiar. There are a lot of polar bears on Svalbard, if I'm pronouncing that right. And those are a real danger to humans. So in that area, I'm sure, again, the guns may outnumber the people to you because you have this polar bear issue. And so That's what I had on mine. I don't know if that's still on the same list, but
Would you just send me your list in Facebook and I'm going to give you the next one on my list and then we'll see if we can sync it up because they're all the same list.
okay.
I mean, I'm sure it's coming from the same one. I have Austria, and Austria is in the top 10 list also. And Vienna and Old World Charm. So I think I'm missing some of the pieces that I went to the same link I thought, but if you Facebook message me, I will get to the same link you are, and then we can we're on number 4, right?
Yes.
All right.
What do you have? Otherwise, no, that's what I got.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I see. Okay.
It might have been an older list that we pulled from too. So you said you had which country?
I was looking at Austria, which is number 5 on this list. So we're
yep. Yeah, that one stinks. Okay.
That stinks. I knew it was, and we may have reordered them for some reason.
We may have. So we're good. Austria.
Yeah, Austria. And for Vienna, there's public transportation for Austria, low cost, easy routes to get around from in their neighborhoods, and easy neighboring countries as well. So Austria is number 5.
6.
So that was,
yep. Number 6, I've got Slovenia, and it's a small country in southern Central Europe. It's bordered by Croatia, Hungary, Austria, Italy, and the Adriatic Sea. They say that they've been on the Global Peace Index. Yes, and they're ranked number 5 on the latest Global Peace Index that we were talking about earlier for 2021. So that was just the most recent one, I assume. Mm-hmm. They've got, their reputation for a safe country is due to their behavior. They try to preserve health at all levels. So again, sounds like a fabulous place to visit for many reasons. So.
Right. And then number 7 is Japan. And it doesn't surprise me that Japan lists as the safest country or one of the safer countries, because I've heard so many great stories about how safe it is to ride public transportation in Japan. Sheila could attest to some of this. Communities, exactly. Walking in the streets and so forth. And there's a note here that in the last several years, they've introduced some women-only carriages on trains and some female-only inns and hotels. So that might actually make some folks feel more comfortable if you're looking to stay in a woman's only community. Japan seems to cater to that. So that's fantastic. That
does sound fabulous.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited about that. I'm going to have to look into a little bit of that, what they do, because that's interesting to me that they've found that there was a need and actually opening things up in that capacity from a country perspective. So
right. So number 8, I'm showing Qatar.
Yes.
And they're saying generally it's very safe to travel to. I know sometimes we have these ideas of countries that are so different from us as being, and because of that, we don't know the culture, we don't know the language that in itself, or just where it's located, that sometimes that makes us feel uncomfortable. But in fact, these countries strive very hard to welcome tourism and to protect American tourists. I've heard that a lot, even about Egypt as well. They do say it is a Muslim country. So again, it's just being aware, like how to dress. I think that's important. Look into these things ahead of time, or reach out to women or men in any of like the Facebook travel groups. It's amazing how many people have traveled solo and will be more than willing to share their tips on proper attire and to cover your head and just some of the cultural norms. And by following those, you become a more responsible tourist and, more likely to have a really good experience.
Right. And I think Qatar is one of the safest Middle Eastern countries there in that little region. There's a couple of others that you could pick from as well, but I know that this is touted as an easy place to tour and visit. It's a very small country, but that's cool that it's on number 8.
Yeah. So what's number 9?
We're going back to Northern Europe, Finland, which Finland, just like the other ones we mentioned, Denmark and Norway, also in the northern part of Europe, and the country, lots of public transportation, lots of no stress travel. I imagine Finland is also very bike friendly, very much into tourism. So you're going to see a lot of that. So they say it's very safe for women traveling alone, which I can also imagine that would be true there. So I haven't been to Finland, but I have several friends who've traveled and actually lived in Finland for a while. So hear really good things about that country and its welcomeness to tourists.
Right. All
Yeah.
right, so I guess we're at number 10. So
Yep.
number 10 on our list I'm showing is Australia. And Australia is considered one of the safest countries on the planet, has low levels of crime and efficient police forces. Australians feel very, proud of their peaceful society. And they have also one of the lowest population densities. So once you get outside some of the big areas like Sydney and some of the other towns, and I know we've spoken to Joel on our YouTube
Right.
channel. You can check out his video. I don't know if we may not have published it yet, but
Yeah.
um, it's just very welcoming. There's lots of scenery. I've heard from other friends too that it's very easy to rent a vehicle and car camp around the country, because most of the things you want to see are kind of on the edges of the country. So just a beautiful place, but there are long distances, so it's important to plan if you're going to be driving between places.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll put the link to the Global Peace Index so you can take a look at that in our description and find what else is where your country that you're traveling to list and what they're saying. Also, don't forget to check the State Department's website for the country. I mean, we're in the middle of, some changes and things that are happening across the world right now. So you might see alerts around that, as you would expect. But if there's any other things you're not aware of, the State Department's pretty good about sharing that information on their website as to what's happening in the country and what to be aware of. If there's civil unrest and other things that happen, and that kind of stuff can happen
Oh
anywhere
yeah,
all the time.
right.
We have it too. So just stuff to pay attention to, but these were the ones that were ranked for 2021. And I think what was the problem earlier, I was looking at a link for an article that we had found, but it was an
Oh,
older article. And so
okay.
the list was for 2018 or 19. Fortunately, our first one, Iceland, was still
Yeah.
on the list because they stay there. So we didn't get too mixed up. Thanks for sending this over. Because yeah, this is a really good thing to think about. I wouldn't say to only go to these countries. So let's be careful with that. I don't want to think you need to only pick these safe countries. But if you're traveling alone for the first time, taking your children for the first time, something like that, if you're feeling a little uneasy, just knowing that it's ranked here and what is going on in the country can make you feel more comfortable of traveling abroad. So good stuff to look at when
Yeah,
you're
always.
picking a
And
destination, right?
yeah, and that's another reason maybe to, find a group that you feel comfortable with, or asking friends, families, coworkers. Sometimes we've mentioned that, Cindy and I, and let them know, hey, I'm looking at going to this place. What do you think? And it's often surprising, even a distant relative, you may not have realized that they went there or they
Right.
know someone there. And even that connection can make you feel more comfortable and reaching out and making plans prior to making that leap and going. So,
Right. And it's always changing, right? So just
yeah.
because somebody went 2 years ago and felt uncomfortable doesn't mean that you would feel comfortable today, because the world is constantly evolving. As we know in our own country, things are constantly changing. So check again, right? And don't
Right.
be hesitant because someone else had a
Yeah.
weird experience or something unusual. Check, make your own decisions. But these are great resources, the state website, the Global Peace Index. These are great places to kind of see what's actually happening. And I think it's, like I said, it's good to know when you're wanting to find a place that's low key. Like I want to go to a place where I can
Yeah.
like relax and not have to be concerned. I mean, I just say this because there's no place on the planet I wouldn't go.
Right.
I want to go to absolutely every country. There are some places I would say I wouldn't go right now, but 5 years, 10 years, 2 years from now, things change, right? So
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
open to hearing about all of those places and in all of those countries. So we hope we gave you some inspiration of places to go. Um,
And we
and
hope you'll join us Saturday, which is already tomorrow. We've got a coffee chat. We have travelers join us from around the world. So if you found this on Meetup, the link is there. We have it on Facebook. We'll drop it probably in our description of the
yes,
video today. So it's a fun way to connect with other travelers. And tomorrow the topic is travel surprises. So
yeah, yeah. And unlike this, you get to talk and we want to meet you.
yeah.
We'll all be on the same Zoom. So we're just, trying multiple ways to reach out and to connect with you. So thank you for listening, and we'll talk with you hopefully Saturday. If not on another live, talk to you all soon.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.